We're coming on air tonight with breaking news. Another senseless shooting of a child in Charlotte. This time, a 7-year-old girl caught in the crosshair of a shootout. This happened in the 1000 block of Marble Street. That is near Freedom Drive and I-85. This is near the spot where 2 juveniles were shot earlier tonight on Hovis Road.
Our Hunter Signs live at the scene with new information from police. Hunter, what can you tell us tonight?
Well, Sarah and Fred, CMPD just left the scene about a half hour ago. You can see the crime scene tape. It has been taken down out here. The center of this investigation was actually the apartment building that you see here, but I want to get quickly to some video from earlier this evening. This is what the scene looked like. Police tell us 2 groups were shooting at each other outside when a stray bullet hit a 7-year-old innocent little girl. She was rushed to Atrium, Maine, where she miraculously is in stable condition. A witness who you're about to hear from told photojournalist Mike Hansen that she heard 20 shots in the shootout. The sad reality is, though, this is the 3rd child who has been shot in Charlotte today alone. Earlier this afternoon on Hovis Road, police say a drive-by shooting left 2 juveniles shot as well. Officers say that was a targeted shooting. Those 2 juveniles are in stable condition as well. Now investigators say the important thing here to note, the 2 different shootings are connected, but they are not giving any details as to how. Witnesses were rattled by the gunfire out here where the 7-year-old was shot as police called for the violence to stop yet again.
My life was like flashing before me, and it was very scary for me and my husband. We had to fall together. I grabbed him so we could fall to the floor because it seemed like it was going to hit me in my head, and I didn't know what to do. It's unbelievable. We had just came outside, to sit down and have a beautiful day, and this is what happened.
I cannot tell you how disappointing it is to me that we have to continue to do this kind of reporting to you on a consistent basis in our communities.
The frustration continues in the Queen City as the violence continues to happen out here on these streets that we call home. CMPD says they do have several leads, but they are asking if you know any information to please call Crime Stoppers on either one of these cases that they say now are connected. Again, 3 children shot in one day alone in Charlotte, all 3 of them in stable condition. Live in Northwest Charlotte, Hunter Signs, WCNC Charlotte.
Frustrating and senseless. Thank you for that report, Hunter. And we are going to continue to follow this story. And when we get new information from police, we'll update it inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. It's a free download in your app store.
We're tracking another roller coaster ride in the forecast. Futurecast showing more storms moving in tomorrow. It's the beginning of a big change that will last the rest of the week. Brad, we might need to bring back that heavier coat after all this rain.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple seasons in the next 3 days here. We're going to go from spring back to winter pretty quickly, and maybe a little bit of spring and summer mixed in with the storms heading in tomorrow. Tonight it's calm, but you can see the system back to the west, and it's been producing some severe weather this evening, and unfortunately some flash flooding in parts of Tennessee, an area that was hit hard this past weekend with those deadly floods around the Nashville area. Because the ground is saturated in Tennessee, we could see a low risk to medium risk of flash flooding there. And then tomorrow you could see the mountains and foothills could see a medium risk with a low risk for flash flooding in our area. So we've got that combined with a severe weather risk. You could see the low risk tonight, but tomorrow that threat will increase to medium across the deep south. And then here in the Carolinas, we're looking at a low risk for some gusty thunderstorms in the middle of the afternoon. So right now the hour-by-hour forecast shows scattered storms will be possible in the middle of the day, but I really think it's these late day ones we'll have to watch. Peak heating is when we could see some of the stronger storms. Even though the rain chances are lower, the scattered storms that are still around will have the potential to produce damaging winds. Coming up, we'll show you that Futurecast hour by hour tomorrow, and then we've got to talk about the deep freeze, which is coming in. Get those gardens ready to be protected because we could see a freeze 2 nights in a row coming up later this week.
Brad, thank you. Starting tomorrow, more people will be making vaccine appointments. Here's a look at the timeline. Tomorrow in South Carolina, any adult 16 years old and up will be eligible to get the vaccine. Then tomorrow in North Carolina, the rest of Group 4 will be eligible. State officials say that's an estimated 820,000 people. That includes other essential workers like retail workers, construction, real estate, financial employees, public works, students in living group settings can also get their shot starting on Wednesday. Then on April 7th, everyone 16 and up in North Carolina is eligible.
As vaccinations rise, the number of COVID tests being taken are dropping. Health officials say a lot of this could simply come down to less viral spread in the community, but they're hoping people who need to be tested are still doing so. So are vaccinated people part of this group? Vanessa Rufus verifies.
Lots of folks are talking online about foregoing COVID-19 tests after getting vaccinated, essentially celebrating the fact that they'll never have to take another test again after getting their shots. But is this sentiment in line with the official guidance? Our question is, are vaccinated people exempt from COVID-19 tests? For more, we went to the CDC and North Carolina's State Health Director, Dr. Elizabeth Tilson. It turns out the answer comes down to symptoms.
So people who are fully vaccinated, which means that you're at least 14 days after your last dose. If you have any symptoms of COVID, you still should get tested. It is just people who are fully vaccinated. If they have a close contact but they don't have any symptoms, then they don't need to get tested.
But the CDC reminds even the vaccinated with no symptoms pass only goes so far. There could be additional testing requirements in certain situations and in certain states and localities. For example, it says if you were to travel internationally and come home, you'd still have to test to re-enter the country, regardless of vaccination status. So here's how we're breaking down this Verify. Are vaccinated people exempt from COVID-19 tests? For an exposure with no symptoms, the answer is yes. For an exposure with symptoms, the answer is no. And for re-entry to the U.S. after travel, it's also no. With your Verify, I'm Vanessa Rufus.
We know there's a lot of misinformation spreading about the vaccine online. If you see something on social media you'd like our team to look into, send us an email. The address is verify@wcnc.com.
New tonight, we're learning some people with appointments to receive their second vaccine dose at Walgreens are having some issues. When they arrived, some were told the location didn't have the correct brand for their second dose. Others were told they showed up at the wrong location. We reached out to Walgreens, and here's what they told us. We are aware of an issue with our scheduler, where patients were booked for their second dose appointments at a location that does not have vaccines available by the same manufacturer. This issue with the scheduler has since been resolved. Team members are in the process of reaching out to impacted patients proactively to accommodate them and assist with rescheduling their appointments to align with current vaccine availability. If you are experiencing issues with your appointments, let us know. You can text, don't call, but text the number on your screen, 704-329-3600, and we'd be happy to help you.
Down in South Carolina, a community in Columbia coping with the loss of a beloved football coach. Damian Jackson passed away after a fight with COVID-19. Coach Jack, as he was called, was an assistant coach for football and track. He also taught math at Dreyer High School. Friends and students say he is an irreplaceable force at the school and that he bent over backwards to help those around him.
People refer to him a lot as the gentle giant. He's a big, strong guy, but he had a real soft voice. He could get loud on the football field, but he was tremendously kind.
He would never let a child be left behind. If you came in his presence and you allowed him to impact your life, he absolutely would to the fullest.
School leaders said they're looking for a way to honor Coach Jack and plan to do something to make sure his service is always remembered. An update tonight, there are new charges against the Mount Holly man accused of killing his wife with eye drops. Investigators accuse Joshua Hunsucker of setting fire to a medical helicopter mid-flight back in 2019. That helicopter was forced to make an emergency landing at a car dealership parking lot. Hunsucker is now facing felony charges. As for the murder case of his wife, a trial date hasn't yet been set.
Another day of testimony in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin. He's the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd. Chauvin has pleaded not guilty to charges of second-degree murder and third-degree murder, as well as manslaughter. Today in the courtroom, a firefighter took the stand saying she offered to help George Floyd, but police told her to wait with the rest of the crowd. NBC's Jay Gray wraps up day 2 of the trial.
Hey there, good evening. It was a tense, at times very difficult day inside the courtroom. Some of the most gripping and emotional testimony coming at the end of the day when a Minneapolis firefighter and EMT who lives in the neighborhood where George Floyd died just happened upon the scene. Genevieve Hansen was moved to tears as she described what she saw, telling jurors she was off duty but desperate to help, approaching police, identifying herself as a medic, offering to check George Floyd's pulse and start chest compressions if necessary. But she says officers told her to move to the sidewalk with the growing crowd.
And I would have, had I had access to a call similar to that, I would have been able to provide medical attention to the best of my abilities, and this human was denied that right.
Now, during opening statements, the defense team said that they do believe the growing and angry crowd had something to do with the events that unfolded that day. Several of the witnesses today during their testimony told the jury that despite their pleas for Chauvin to take his knee off of Floyd's neck, that it only seemed to make him readjust his weight and apply more pressure. That's the latest from here in Minneapolis. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
We will cover parts of the trial, but not all of it. If you would like to watch the entire trial, you can see it on our app, on WCNC.com, or over the air on channel 36.3. You can also stream it on YouTube via our sister station, KARE 11. Still to come, health leaders have talked about the possibility of a future where we would need a COVID passport, proving we got the shot before we get on an airplane. But is that a legal violation of your privacy, you ask? So our Verify team went to the experts. They give us the answers coming up next.
And we're tracking some heavy rain and thunderstorms over in Tennessee right now. We could see a couple waves tomorrow, but it's the one in the late afternoon that really needs to be watched. Coming up, I'll show you the latest timing and the cold air that's moving in behind this system.